Hello, good evening, everybody. I'm your host for today, Anubha Dhingra. Global welcomes you to an insightful knowledge sharing series in collaboration with ThePrint. This session will focus on establishing pandemic ready employee insurance programs. For the last 5 months have been very transformational for our country. Today, India is among the top 3 countries worst hit by coronavirus pandemic, which has left its mark on almost all industries and sectors across the spectrum, including health insurance. While we still do not know when this pandemic is going to end, at least we are now able to forecast its impact on the health insurance industry in the near future with enough and more cues from the past quarter's data. With the onset of this pandemic, we have witnessed some positives in the last few months, like first, increase in the uptake for health insurance. Secondly, a massive shift towards digitalization. And thirdly, a clear change in the customer mindset in terms of realization around the significance of protective investment. To throw more light on this topic, today we are joined by Mr. Jayesh Gadekar. He's heading Health and Benefits and Innovative Solutions at Global. And the second panelist today is Mr. Shashank Pandey, who heads the risk management at Tata Cummins. So Jayesh is an insurance industry veteran with nearly 2 decades of experience in the insurance sector. He has a strong background in business planning, consulting, sales, and customer relationship management. Jayesh will now lead us with a webinar and a short presentation on the various solutions that the insurance industry has to offer in this pandemic time. After which, we'll open the panel for the discussion to understand how organizations have coped up with the pandemic. In case any of you have any kind of questions, please post them in the chat box. We'll try to answer them once we end the session or once we move towards the end of the session. Thank you, and over to you, Jayesh.
Hey, thanks, Anubha, and thanks for having me here. Thanks, Shashank, for joining this and sharing your insights as well. So this is a hot topic that has been going on for some time now, and the question in everybody's mind is, are your employee benefit insurance programs pandemic ready? We interact with numerous clients across the country and some even overseas. Out of the various clients that we handle, this turns out to be the discussion point in most of the clients. And therefore, we thought that we should actually address the bigger audience in discussing this critical discussion point. So I have a short presentation for you today. So don't worry, nothing very elaborate. Just touching the few highlights on the insurance market today. So moving on quickly, what we have noticed over a period of time is that the key market trends, the loss ratios during this 2020, especially during the pandemic period, have actually been way below the normal trend. And of course, over the last decade, if you see, we have seen the loss ratios come down, but especially in the last year, we have seen loss ratios coming down drastically. Obviously, for multiple reasons, the first one being whatever the planned hospitalizations were going to happen have been deferred. Let's take, for example, your knee replacement or hip replacement or kidney stone, those kind of ailments, right? People are still afraid to go to the hospital or not very comfortable. Of course, the other fact being that most of the hospitals have been overcrowded and dominated by the COVID patients, especially in the cities like Mumbai, Pune, Chennai, Bangalore, where we've seen high number of COVID cases. This has also led to a design and strategy change trend, which we have been assisting corporate clients with. One question which comes to everybody's mind is your sum insured that you're offering to your employees, is it adequate? The pandemic has actually led to this discussion and this point all over again. you know the highly contagious nature of the pandemic and the fact that if one person in the family gets it, the chances are that the multiple members of the family can be affected with it. So therefore, multiple claims can arise out of a single family unit, and that sort of drew the attention to most of the corporates actually wondering, is the sum insured adequate? The other trend that we have noticed, of course, in 2020 and late 2019 is also the diversity and inclusion covered, where corporates are now openly accepting this, having same-sex partners, living relationship, gender realignment surgeries, etc. So these have been some of the new asks, I would say, from the corporates. The other trend that we have seen is also extending the cover for family members even after the employee's death. And that is a humanitarian gesture that most corporates are taking today to at least, till the policy period is over. The other key trend or the effect or a knee jerk reaction, if you may call it, of the pandemic has been a substantial rise in the term life insurance rates. We have seen almost 40% rise in the term life insurance rates. More so, uh, because of the reinsurance driven nature of this business. Most of the group term life policies or term life policies per se are more often than not reinsured with reinsurance companies. And reinsurance companies have been facing a huge inflow of death claims from across the world. And that has sort of led them to really tighten the purse strings and look at group term life insurance programs very, very closely. Moving on, generally, what we have noticed, the key factors which affect the health and health insurance costs in India, the topmost being obviously the medical inflation. Now, medical inflation, as we know, has been in the range of almost 10 to 12% year on year. Now, there are multiple reasons for it. One of the major reasons, of course, is a rise in treatment cost. But the major reason, more often than not, is advancement of medical treatment and procedures. To give you an example, right? Um, my grandmother had a knee surgery almost 6 years ago, and it took her almost 3 months to walk again. This was on her left knee. On the right knee, she had a surgery and recently, and she walked out of the hospital. And that's the advancement of the medical treatment and the technology that is getting used. This is all obviously coming at a cost. The other thing that we are really looking at is the lifestyle ailments. Lifestyle ailments in India, unfortunately, are on the rise for all the wrong reasons. Heart disorder, respiratory, cancer, and even depression now. We are amongst the top 3 to 5 nations or countries in the world for all of these ailments. That's not a proud thing to do. And this is basically related to lifestyle. We are all also aware of the natural risk that we keep having across the country. We have a vast country, so there could be, famine in some place. There could be floods in some areas of the country. There could be earthquakes, and there could be even heat waves. So, such is the vast nature of our country that we have all of this, and this is something that we have been actually living with over a period of time. But of late, you must have seen that it has been a very erratic kind of situation. We've got the Hyderabad floods recently. We've got, even things like um, uh, uh, heat waves in, parts of the country where it has never happened. The other threat that we as a country live with and have been living with is terrorism. Terrorism also takes a lot of lives, and it could be taking lives, it could be people getting disabled, people maybe bioterrorism is a new trend, but that is again a thing that we have to live with in the recent times. What we also did is understanding the coverage requirement during the pandemic. The major requirement obviously was coverage of home quarantine. Obviously, insurance companies who have evolved the products have included this, and at times we have persuaded companies with some data on home quarantine to be included in cover. Now, the COVID and COVID related ailments, all of us must have understood that this was not a insurance product until probably March or April this year. But the insurance companies have been proactive in setting up this product very quickly. And bodies like IRDAI have given the option to the companies to set up these products at a quick time basis. It's called the sandbox rule, where you can try out this product on a small population and then file for the license of the product. So, I so insurance companies, the regulator, everybody has stepped in to sort of assist the situation. The other trend that we have been seeing is, of course, the free cover limit of the group term life. Because of the nature of the reinsurance companies across the globe, the free cover limit has been a major ask for a lot of corporates. Next being the PPE kits and the consumable. We all know the famous PPE kit. In fact, just today I saw, and it can happen apparently only in India, the PPE kit being used as a scarecrow in a farm. So the PPE kit, as we know, has become very famous or infamous, whatever way you want to choose the words. And unfortunately, the PPE kit had come initially as part of a consumable and therefore was not paid. But insurance companies have stepped up and have now started to consider this on case to case basis. The other trend that we have seen is also the rise in the top up policies, where some insured suddenly became inadequate. Corporates have introduced top up policies for employees to buy additional sum insured and really assist them in this difficult times. Now, when we were talking about sum insured, we did some analytical research through the vast data that we have. We insure almost 2.3 million lives and have a data equal to almost similar number. So what we have done is over the past several years, we have monitored these top five ailments and how the medical inflation alone sort of will act upon it. If you see the yellow line, for example, which is the neoplasm, it started off with 3.8 lakhs and it is going up to 8.5 lakhs projected in by 2030. Now, this is only by applying medical inflation. If you see the dotted lines, basically the range between the sum insured that is offered by most corporates in India is in the range of 2 to 4 lakhs, sometimes going up to 5 lakhs. But if you notice, by 2025, all the five ailments or the top five ailments are going to be out of that reach. So, therefore, how are corporates going to have adequate sum insured um, designed for their insurance program along with their broking partners? On the right side, you will see that the average range of only the COVID claims started off with 80,000 to about 2 lakh rupees per individual. And remember, the sum insured for more often than not is per family. And it had gone as high as about 7 lakhs for a 14 days quarantine with ICU treatment. This is the kind of expenses that we are foreseeing for the country to be faced with, and only a proper stitched insurance program is going to help you um, tide this over. So, some of the critical success factors, of course, I've been talking about policy design. So, we need the corporates to really look at insurance products in terms of its totality, which means that it could be a COVID policy, it could be the personal accident policy, it could be the health insurance policy. So, in its totality, to offer a meaningful coverage. The second important thing which corporates really need to think about is a conventional with the or versus the new age um, type of policy design. Flex is another area where we are seeing a lot of traction because of a simple reason that the employees of an organization are in different stages of their life. So, for example, someone could be unmarried, someone could have just got married, and someone could have got married with two kids, and the kids are also, in college. So, they are different life cycles of an employee's career, and their needs are different. So, if you are going to offer, let's say, a maternity program to a person who already has two kids, he's got no value in it. So, this is what we are doing at Global. The next important critical factor that I want to talk about is the broking partner, which is going to be your, I would say, like a linchpin to hold the entire program together. What I would encourage corporates to look at is the geographical spread, their client experience, their their investment in technology. Technology is going to be the key driver going forward. We have demonstrated, and luckily, we have invested in technology far more robustly than anyone else in India, and have demonstrated our BCP during the lockdown. So I would encourage corporates look at BCP plans very, very closely and the success of that. And that is because at the end, your employees are the final stakeholders, and they need to have a seamless service even during such disruptions. Wellness is another offering. Sorry, reinsurance support is another offering that you should look at, especially because if you're going to structure newer benefits, you are more likely than not require a reinsurance partner supporting your program along with the local partner. The next critical column or the cornerstone is the insurance companies and the TPA. Please choose a right insurance company. When you're looking at an insurance company, look at their claim paying capacity, their flexibility during paying claims, look at the number of claims. So for every 100 claims that you have made, how many claims have got settled? And for every 100 rupees that you have claimed, that is your employees have claimed or the corporate has claimed, how many rupees have got settled? Solvency margins of late, there has been a lot of turmoil in the insurance market. So we would, look at the solvency margins as well, along with the geographical spread. The last but not the least, and I feel to on a lot of parameters, the wellness piece is one of the most important cornerstone of corporates and insurance programs going forward. Now, wellness programs are most successful, what we have noticed, when it is driven by the top management. When it is a top down approach towards wellness, it becomes a culture in an organization. It could mean simple things like stand up meetings or meetings while you're walking, right, with the senior management team. It could mean that the senior management is involved in a employee engaged activity, probably for a yoga session once in a week, or even a game of badminton or golf or cricket over the weekend. So these are certain important things. Wellness is never going to happen when you put everybody in a room and try to talk. At Global, we are trying to do wellness in a very innovative way. we have recently conducted a program where we actually had people, the orthopedic specialist, walk on the floor to each person's desk and tell them the height of the chair, the angle of the screen, and drew a line diagram and stuck it on the softboard. So these are the levels of wellness programs that we really need to look at. Last slide, my key takeaways again: policy design, consulting approach, correct partners, use of technology, and wellness. So, Anubha, this is my message or observations in the insurance market today.
Thank you, Jayesh, for this, for your inputs on this. At least at this time, when there are so many questions in everybody's minds as to how, especially their companies are going to, structure their insurance programs, you have given a good insight in terms of what companies should be doing. Now, Shashank, you've been there in this industry for such a long time, especially in the insurance. You've handled policies for so many companies. The employee benefits portfolio in and out. What are the various kinds of benefits that the companies look at? I would like to ask you, how are organizations, especially at this point of time, they're countering the pandemic, especially to keep their employees' morale high? What are they getting into? What are all the things that they're adopting?
See, thank you for this opportunity to speak at this forum. And see, in my point of view, most of the corporates in India have done a fantastic job in supporting and giving their employees all the help and guidance and education they need to deal with the pandemic, including giving work from home for almost a year. I've been working from home for the last 1 year. And if we only talk about the insurance aspect or the employee benefits aspects, I think most of the corporates have a decent coverage and sum insured for family, but as Jayesh said, it's not adequate. In today's market, it's definitely not adequate. Few companies do have the option of giving the employees of buying a top up in addition to the basic sum insured the companies are offering. But the trend I've seen is not even 10% of the population is opting for the highest sum insured that is available because the money is going out of their pocket. So people are content with the basic sum insured that the company is offering, hoping that they won't fall sick. But what message I would like to give to everyone, please do not only depend on the insurance that is provided by the corporates, have a self-insurance as well. This is very, very important, very critical, because every corporate has a limited purse that it can spend on a medical claim policy. Because when it comes to employee benefit for a corporate, it's not limited to a medical claim policy for the people. It also includes term policies, PA policies, personal accident, then giving a cab facility, giving a canteen facility, giving dresses. It can n number of things the corporates are funding. So to rely on only corporate policy is not the right approach. Everybody should have a medical claim policy. And the last line I would like, this is the right time to buy a policy in India. The prices in India are way more cheaper if you compare it to the outside world. It's very cheap. If people think insurance is expensive in India, they need to open their eyes and check the pricing that is available in our neighbors. Check Dubai, how much it will cost you to buy a 1 crore term insurance plan. So my message is, please buy your own insurance, buy a top-up policy as well.
Shashank, having said that, help us understand with this pandemic kicking in, the benefit structure pre 2020 and post 2020, or let's say post pandemic. Any kind of specific benefits that you would look at, probably you would have already introduced, or you're looking at introducing under the policy as such?
Yes, what I've done is see this pandemic situation where we are trying to make people aware of how to deal with it. But if I look from a purely corporate point of view, wherein I have to buy a corporate policy, this is a rare occurrence, right? It won't happen every 2 years or 3 years or every year. This may happen once in a decade, once in 10 years or 15 years, because I've been in the industry for 11 years. I have not seen pandemic. So in order to add a cover, a pandemic cover only, and thereby increase my premium, would it make sense? Because I'm taking a chance whether there will be another pandemic in the next 5 years or not. So rather, what we have done is we have increased the base sum insured of every employee. So at least the utilization is there. So rather having a pandemic specific cover or pandemic specific policy, we have increased the base sum insured because chances of another pandemic are rare. If a phenomenon is happening every 10 years, then probably we'll deal with it when as and when it comes by providing adding the base cover. And we have also what we have done is we have increased the top up limit for every employee. Earlier we can only offer 3 lakh rupees of additional cover. Now we have increased it up to 5 lakh rupees. So we've given a decent coverage, but as of today, I don't think so. Pandemic is a phenomena wherein you need a pandemic specific policy. If at the time of renewal, pandemic can be added into the policy wording as an additional coverage with a minor increase in premium, that should do the job. But yes, if this occurrence is coming again and again, then probably corporates will look at it at a pandemic specific policy also.
Thanks, Shashank. So, Jayesh, one question to you is that now with the GOI, that's the Government of India, rolling out the vaccination in India, do you think insurance companies should charge a differential premium for the people who have got the vaccine done or who are planning to get the vaccine done vis-a-vis those who don't? Probably not immediately, since
Yeah.
once everybody starts getting vaccinated. What do you think? A differential premium should be charged? A kind of a declaration should be given by the, let's say, the employees, whether they have been vaccinated, their families have been vaccinated or not, and what about the premium that the companies are going to charge?
Yeah, thanks, Anu. I think that's a brilliant question. And in fact, it is right on cue because just yesterday I read a similar article in motor insurance. And let me draw an analogy towards that. The article read that on a controlled environment basis, which is probably a city or only a state, an insurance company is trying to link the premium that you're going to pay on your motor vehicle insurance basis the traffic violations that you are going to have, right? So, it is basically talking about if you are taking care of the risk in a certain way, you will obviously be either rewarded or punished in your premium. And this is not something new that is happening in India. This is a worldwide phenomena where motor premiums are basis on your, and it was in some form or shape earlier as well. In when it was, a no claim bonus. If you have an accident and you claim, your no claim bonus would go up. So it is the same thing, right? And the logic remains the same that if you are going to prevent yourself by taking the vaccination, then obviously, your premium could slightly be better. And we have it in some form or other, even in the life insurance companies. For example, when you are taking a term life policy, the standard question that gets asked to you is, are you a smoker or you're not a smoker? Or do you drink often or you don't drink often? If you drink, how often do you drink? Are you a diabetic or you're not a diabetic? So I think this is a natural progression and will be asked by insurance company to better protect and underwrite their risk.
Thanks, Jayesh. But according to you, what are the key factors for continuing service during this pandemic situation?
Okay, so I did touch upon this to some extent on in my presentation, and I think investment in technology is going to be the paramount. You've got, and you look at us right now, right? We are working from home and we are doing a webinar. So this is all basically possible because of technology. At global, like I mentioned, we've had a vision, you may call. We've invested in our own portal and mobile app. The BCP plan in terms of the technology backbone has been very, very robust. We've not only been able to renew almost 100% of our insurance programs, but also settle over 50,000 claims during the pandemic period alone. Also, the regular features like endorsements, addition, deletion, CD account statements, all of this has been possible only because of technology. Any technology is going to be good or bad basis on the training that you give to your team. If the technology is fantastic and your team is not trained to handle it, it's not going to be of any use. So I would suggest that a continuous training. And a classic example is most corporates today, and I'm sure even Shashank, even your corporate does that, is a fire drill, right? And why do we do a fire drill? Basically, we do a fire drill that in case of a fire, everyone needs to know their role, who needs to do what, and how do we need to evacuate the building. So it is exactly the same. And Shashank, in fact, I contradict your statement of a pandemic not being I see it happening more often now than not because of multiple reasons that I mentioned. It's travel, world travel. People are traveling across the country. Infections are spreading. So it is not a city or a state anymore. The world is our one big ball of earth. So I see pandemics happening more frequently. And you already see that in Europe, where we already have a second wave. I don't know. In fact, I saw a serial sometime which said COVID 30. so, so, so I see that it is coming in some form of other. But the fact is that we are now equipped. I think we are equipped not only from an insurance point, but also from the infrastructure point.
Okay. Shashank, one thing we would want to understand is that the first challenge that the organization faced during the pandemic was that, to start working from home. What should be done to encourage employees to work from home? But now, again, there's another question. After having been working from home for such a long time, what do you think is the way forward post-pandemic while they're returning to work? What do you think corporates should do to tackle this better?
See, what I see is now people have gotten used to working from home, and we recently conducted a poll wherein the result was 50-50. 50% people want to come back to and work in office, and 50% want to continue working from home. So, way forward would be to introduce working from office in the phased manner. You cannot have the entire workforce coming into office 100% attendance. But yes, phased manner coming into office and started working. And secondly, I completely agree with the management if they are looking at people who are not required to be in office. See, unless until you are required to be in office, then only you attend office. Because I've seen a lot of organizations already giving permanent work from homes now. And I think TCS, one of the biggest employers in India, they've already told that more than 50% of the people will be working from home by 2025. So if TCS can do it, I think everybody should do it because it will bring a lot of cost down, which again can be passed on to the employees in the form of employee benefits. So phased manner, reopening, and looking at the jobs which can be done from home should be done from home. It's cost effective for the employers and it's very convenient for the employee.
Okay, now the forum was kept open for people to drop in their questions. One of them have asked that COVID-19 pandemic was so sudden. In case of such an unforeseen occurrence, how can organizations best support their employees? Because now, in fact, WHO has also recently conducted a study wherein it is they conducted a discussion on organism X. Now it's coronavirus. Tomorrow it could be anything. With the kind of cold war that we're facing amongst the country, the speculations that are going on, it could be anything. There could be another pandemic. It's more like a biological warfare, people believe. So what do you think that how organizations should start supporting their employees?
Anubha, I believe that question is for Shashank.
Yes. It is.
See, by support, what corporates are already doing, just like I said, people who can continue working from home should be giving work from home. And I see a lot of corporates giving allowances up to 50,000 to 70,000 to buy the required furniture, accessories in order to feel like they are working from an office, in order to create their own home office. So these two things the corporates are already doing it, and this should continue. The more people from whom I think in today's competitive world wherein everybody is worried about their work balance, work life balance, working out of home is giving them that balance between their office life and managing their family. And the employee constant education, because see, the number of employees in a company keep on changing. People will retire, people will come, people will go. So the culture that you have to maintain, education about how to deal with pandemic, constant webinars, the brokers that you guys do a lot of seminars, and got a lot of guest lectures with the doctors. So how to tackle if there is immediate contact and you feel like, just like in US, they give you the basic training how to do CPR and all those stuff. I think this should be introduced in India as well, right from schools and in corporates, that in case you are faced with such adversity, what should be your immediate plan of action, and people should be educated on them.
Yeah, I
So
think that's a
Jayesh,
brilliant thought.
yeah, I agree. So Jayesh, this pandemic seems to be a kind of a milestone in the insurance, especially in the health insurance industry. According to you, from now, what is the future of health insurance in India, and where do you see it going? Post this pandemic, it's like more of it's a kind of a very big milestone. We never experienced this thing earlier.
Sure. Um, See, I would like to answer this question in two steps. First is we have to understand health insurance offered by corporate is not a mandatory cover. They offer it to their employees. Um, um, at some case, probably because the next company is offering, but also because they want to do something for the employee per se. Um, what and the second thing is that the rising cost of health insurance is something that is going to be looked at very, very closely. How do you therefore mitigate and structure your program in a more positive way is something that we need to look at. So, just to give you an example, so I see a lot of evolution in the health insurance programs. The flex program is something that I just mentioned about, that there are people at different life stages and life cycles of their professional career, and their insurance needs are different. The second important thing is how do you structure it in, let's say, if the sum insured is not adequate. Let's say, do you have a higher excess and a more top limit? So I see a lot of evolution happening. We already have people asking questions of, with vaccination, without vaccination. So a whole lot of evolution in the insurance space is bound to happen in this decade. And I'm pretty certain that we will see that the insurance industry evolves to cater in a much faster way to cater to the rising needs of the modern day lifestyle or work culture that we are seeing. Um, for example, if majority people are going to work from home, I see, let's say, the personal accident premium dropping down because you are not exposing yourself to the risk on the road. because we did a study and we found that the majority of the road accidents in India happen at a T junction, for example. That is one of the statistics. So all these things are going to be have to be reworked, and I think insurance companies and IRDAI is, like I said, proactively looking at including this. And the latest thing I must sort of mention here is IRDAI had said that depression now can be covered under the health insurance scheme. So mental health, and that is a thing that has happened last year. It has not been there for 40, 50 years. Also because I think in India, you know, we being a conservative country would not openly talk about depressions, but now we are having film stars and celebrities coming ahead and talking about their depression problems, etc. So yeah, we are changing. The requirements are changing, and I'm sure the insurance sector is changing at a much faster pace now than it was before.
And do you think pandemic as such a word should be included in their general terms and conditions, the standard coverages that any insurance company offers, be it on a retail or probably a corporate policy? Because up till now, such thing has never been included under it's a gray area.
So So, like, and the answer is to in my earlier question, earlier answer is that it is evolving, right? So, if you ask me personally, the COVID policy is a COVID infection is a viral infection, and viral infections are covered under the regular health insurance plan. So, it is covered. But you're right, pandemic could be in any form or in any nature. Um, from an insurance point of view, if you ask me, insurance companies would, as of now, be shy from putting that as a open cover, because something like what we are seeing recently is the bird flu, right? And you don't know, what it can do or who will get affected, or are you being cautious enough? And if it turns out to be a pandemic of a pandemic nature, then for insurance company to build in that actuarial valuation of into the premium is a tough task. So I don't think a open blanket cover to pandemic, for the same reason war is generally not covered. And the classic case study is that when the twin tower attack happened, the then president actually had said act of war, and most insurance companies were happy. I think then it was the statement was corrected into act of terrorism, and,
Terrorism.
terrorism is covered under the policy.
Yes, you're right.
So so it
Mainly
is
how to word it, how it is being worded by the government.
correct. So I personally feel that insurance companies might not give a blanket cover, but they would definitely look at it and act in a more proactive way, like they did. Even, and I must compliment to all insurance company in IRDA that they did act proactively in this pandemic period.
So one of the audience have asked this question, and I'm going to open it to both of you. Whoever, any of you might take this question up because.
Or
So,
both.
huh?
I said, or both can answer.
Or both can answer the question from their own perspectives. Yes. So what they have asked is that employees who have been COVID survivors, how are organizations helping them, especially the ones who already have a pre-existing diseases or comorbidities?
Jayesh, you want to take it first?
Yes, I will do that.
Sure.
See, and that's a very, very good question, I must say. See, comorbidity has been, a reason why some of the deaths in the COVID-related deaths, that turns out to be one of the major reasons, because it not only sort of reduces your immune system, so whatever that you've been trying to suppress with medicines can no longer be suppressed. Um, But the fact that COVID itself getting covered under the policy, the comorbidity automatically gets covered, right? So if the main reason why you're going to get affected is covered, then the following reasons are obviously getting affected. And the second point is that all pre-existing elements are as it is covered under the corporate policies. Now, if you talk about the retail policies, the policies which have a waiting period of almost 3 to 5, between 2 to 4 years rather, in that situation, it becomes slightly tricky because though COVID per se will get covered, but the comorbidity condition which gets active might theoretically not get covered. So that is sort of an area which needs to be really looked at very closely when you're buying a retail plan, is my advice.
Um, a question for you, Shashank. So over these last 6 7 months that we are into pandemic, any kind of a peculiar difficulty that you would have faced under the policy, so which you would like to share with everybody? Any kind of a challenge that you would have faced, maybe on a claim settlement or a query that is coming up, or probably the insurance perspective?
See, from corporate point of view, because all my life I've only worked on the client side, so I can speak on the from the client's perspective. What we have seen is the hospital charging way too much to treat COVID, and secondly, uh, the insurers should understand this, and I'm sure through this channel and through global as our brokers as well, you can pass the message along. Once a patient enters the hospital, he has no control of what kind of treatment will be given, how much treatment he will be given. His only plea is just make me fine and let me go home. So if that takes 3 days, it takes 5 days, and what kind of treatment it gives, he has no control over it, right? So here, I've seen claims being declined that the treatment is not in line with the diagnosis. So here, as an employee, he gets his claim rejected, he pays out of his pocket. But how can this be his fault? Why are we not making hospitals accountable for what kind of treatment and how long the treatment is being given to the patient? And secondly, I've seen certain charges being not paid on the same lines by the hospitals. So one slight suggestion for the broker fraternity from me is, just like we do it in the marine, we give the subrogation rights of recovery. I think we should start doing it in health as well. If of recovery from the hospital, if the treatment, if the say TPA doctor says the treatment is not in line with what has been diagnosed, and the hospital is charging the patient, and the insurance company has declined, then the right of recovery of that money should be given to the insurance company in lieu of them paying that claim. Let them recover it from the hospital, because a TPA doctor and a hospital doctor says that whatever treatment I give is in line. The TPA doctor says it's not in line. So the difference of opinion between two medical experts and the sufferer is the poor fellow who suffered from an ailment. So in order to resolve that issue, I think this should be introduced in the, at least in the Indian market, for in these situations.
So,
Sure,
Shashank,
Shashank.
here I would. What has happened here is India is yet to evolve as far as your, hospitals are concerned. There's no regulatory body that we have in India who can put a kind of a cap on the maximum that they can charge, or any particular, the number of days that they can keep a patient into the hospital. So, since there is no regulatory body governing them, they are actually taking corporates for a ride, I must say, especially when they know that a person is
So,
under a medical insurance policy. They normally do take them for a ride.
right. So, yeah, so like we have got the ombudsman for the banking, for the insurance. Unfortunately, like Anubha was mentioning, is there is no governing body for the hospitals. But I must say on this forum, what we've recently started at Global is we have a panel doctor who sort of represents you, uh, basically the employee and the case in case of such issues to the TPA and even the hospital treating doctor to get a arbitration of sort. So that is something of a new initiative that we have recently started, and it has yielded much better results and much positive feedback.
I must compliment Global for taking such initiatives.
Jayesh, can you help us understand how the international markets are changing as far as life insurance is concerned post-pandemic?
Yeah, as I was mentioning in my presentation, is that especially in the term life space, most of the markets are reinsurance driven, and the reinsurance companies are facing claims from across the world, and because this pandemic has hit actually almost most of the countries in the world. So it is a very natural reaction for the reinsurance market to sort of clamp up because they don't know how many claims are going to be there in the pipeline because they have just been getting claims after claims after claims after claims. Um, so that is one thing from the life insurance point of view. From the health insurance point of view, I think most health insurance policies though do cover this because we do that in India as well. They have also been in sort of an overriding mode where the number of claims that we talk to our world broker network colleagues in US, and they tell us that the number of claims that they have been getting from corporates has been huge. And of course, if there are any long-term commitments towards premium, etc., and they've all been gone out of the window. So that has been the case. Of course, most travel insurance policies are now going to see, and of course, it was put on hold for all this time, and I don't think international travel for corporates has yet started. But I see a lot of rise in that premium as well because international travel is going to, come at a high risk. So I see those premiums going up as well.
Okay, I guess we are nearing the end of this series. So thank you, Jayesh and Shashank, for coming over and taking your time out. The inputs shared by you, Jayesh, from the perspective of the insurance sector as a whole, and how insurance companies are tackling with their own issues of having because of this pandemic, how are they tackling these issues, and especially Shashank, what kind of challenges are faced by the corporate. So we get to know both the perspectives of, or probably both sides of the coin. So thank you so much for coming over and sharing your inputs and your views on this. So all of you, thank you all for joining us on this webinar. Hope you liked it and found it insightful. Global will be back again with another interesting session in collaboration with ThePrint. So you all of you stay tuned on this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Anubha. Thank you, Shashank.
Thank you, Shashank. Thank you, Jayesh.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Global team, for this initiative, and it was a very knowledgeable session. And I hope that I can come back as a panelist. If not, then as an attendee.
We will definitely meet again, Shashank. Thank you so much.